Hello, BBE family. Happy Monday. So obviously I'm in the car. Unfortunately, I'm on my way to a funeral. My best friend Jessica's grandmother passed over the weekend, and so I wanted to go love on that family for a little while. But first, on my way over there, I wanted to, number one, remind you guys that you have 1 week to get all the courses for 50% off. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that this doesn't happen very often. But it is our birthday month. It is my photography birthday month, 4 years, as well as my education. I've been teaching for now 2. And so I wanted to just celebrate with you guys, and one of the ways that I knew I could do that right now is by offering this huge sale. So it ends next Tuesday, so you have a solid week to get your hands at least on one of them. And if you're brand new, definitely in the Photography 101 course. Hands down, that's where you start. If you've already taken that, almost 700 of you have, then the next one I suggest is posing. Because you have a good product, now you need a good experience, which is through posing. And then highly suggest the business and branding course. And the business and branding course was a course that used to only be offered to my mastermind girls. And now you're able to get your hands on it. And then obviously the mini session course, because if you know my story, that's how I was able to explode my business, is through mini sessions. And I teach you exactly what I did, exactly how I marketed it, exactly how I ran them. And so those 4 courses are all 50% off. You can get them for $198. And so I know some of you have spent way more than that. And so please tell these ladies like the massive craziness of value they're getting for $198. Of course, I've never, ever been this low. So I wanted to just remind you that, guys, of that, because I don't want anybody to miss out. This is only available for 1 week. It's going to expire. The code's going to expire next Tuesday, and the code is BB50. So if you want 50% off, I'll post a link, and you can grab them and just start your photography journey and grow your photography business. So that's what, first off, I wanted to remind you guys of. And it's just a little thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me live out my dream of teaching photography. And yeah, I'm just excited to see you guys start and see and watch your journey unfold, see your before and afters. And yeah, so that's that. The second thing I want to talk about is probably the least sexiest subject ever, which is white balance. But it's a huge struggle for, I know, a lot of you guys. It's definitely still a struggle for me sometimes. And so if you're brand new, just a quick white balance 101. White balance is when in your images, when you're taking a photo, when your whites actually look white. The color is balanced. Your white looks white. It's not too blue like Smurfy, and it's not too orange like Oompa Loompa-y. It is pure white. Okay? That's what white balance is. And when you can get your whites looking white, all the other colors of the rainbow will look as they should. So if you've ever taken a picture and you look at it, you're like, why does everything look blue? Everything is blue. Or why do their skin tones look so yellow and orange? I can't figure out why. It's because your white balance is off. Your whites are not purely white. Okay? So our goal when we are editing, there's 2 goals. Number 1, to get a proper exposure. And the way we do that is through the AIS system, getting as accurate exposure in camera as possible. Not too bright, not too dark, just right. The Goldilocks look. The exposure is just right. If you're a light and airy photographer, that does not mean you're overexposed. if you're a dark and moody photographer, that does not mean you should be underexposed. No matter your editing style, you at least need a proper exposure. Okay, does everybody get that? Okay. The second goal when shooting and editing, is to get a proper white balance. Means our whites look white. Not blue, not orange, they look white. Not pink, not green, they look white. Okay, and when we can get a proper white balance, all the other colors, including your skin, looks good. It looks normal. It looks as it should. It makes our eyes happy. If you ever look at a photo and you're like, something's not right, I don't know what it is, it just can't, I don't know, like they don't look right, their skin's off, 99% of the time it's because your white balance is off. Okay, so one of the ways you can get a proper white balance and a color and skin tones to look as close to normal as possible is to do it in camera. Okay, so you know how there's auto for like manual mode, like you can either shoot in auto, you can shoot an aperture priority or ISO priority or whatever, or you can shoot in auto. Okay, most of us start with shooting in auto. When you pick up a camera, you don't know what the crap you're doing. You're just like, oh, let me just take some pictures. So you put a bad boy in auto and you start taking pictures, and it's kind of like, not as good as I thought it would be. So that's when you learn manual mode. Once you learn manual mode, you're like, oh, my pictures look awesome. It's the same thing with white balance. Whenever you go through your settings and you click the white balance setting on your camera, there's an option for you to put it in auto. And you can rock auto white balance your entire photography career. A lot of professional photographers do. They keep it in auto and they rock and roll and they do their best. Okay. But what if you could manually adjust your white balance like you manually adjust your settings? That would give you the most accurate image, according to your own eye, that you could possibly get. And that manual mode white balance setting is called Kelvin. It's a color temperature you manually move in your camera. Okay, so let me just preface this by saying, if you're shooting with a crop frame camera, an entry-level camera, you may not have this camera setting. So let me just go ahead and say that now. If you have your crop frame camera out right now and you were like going to the white balance mode and you're like, where's the K? Where's the Kelvin? And it's not there, it might just not be there because you don't have that function. And in that case, you rock auto until you get a full frame camera. But those of you who have a full frame camera or the Kelvin function on your crop frame, what you can do right now, if you're watching a replay or if you're watching live, go to your white balance button and then go click over to where you see the K. That stands for Kelvin. That's the manual option for white balance. Okay, so let's talk about the Kelvin scale real quick. Now you know where the Kelvin button is. Let me talk to you real quick about the Kelvin scale. Okay, the Kelvin scale goes from about 2200 all the way up to 10,000. That's the scale. Okay, just think of like a linear scale. Okay, and where you put your number on is going to be the color it's going to give you in the camera. Okay, so let me just stop right here and give you an analogy. When you're pouring bath water and you turn it on and then you feel it, you're trying to feel for the just right temperature, right? You don't want it too cold, but you don't want it too hot. You want it just right. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn it on what you think might be the right settings for your bath water. You're going to feel it. And you're going to be like, oop, too cold. Let me warm it up. Then you'll feel it. And you're like, ooh, that's too hot. Let me cool it down. And you feel it again. You're like, ooh, that's just right. That's how we're going to look at the Kelvin scale. Okay? Now, Remember, our goal is to get our whites looking white. We want that just right temperature, the just right white. So you might need to start at your Kelvin setting that I'm going to give you in a second, and then adjust from there. If it's too cool, you're going to go up the scale, up to 10,000. If it's too warm, meaning it's too orangey, you're going to move down the scale to cool it down. Okay? So here's how I teach it in the Photography 101 course. Here's how I'm going to teach it to you today. And this is what I use personally when I'm shooting in Kelvin with my manual mode settings. Okay? If I'm outside in natural light, which hopefully that's where you start, in open shade, you get the easiest light to shoot in, which is open shade around golden hour, 1 to 2 hours before sunset, or 1 to 2 hours after sunrise. That is when the sun is the softest. If you're out in that type of light, I want you to put your Kelvin setting on 5600. Okay, so if we're looking at a linear scale and our scale goes from 2200 all the way to 10,000, I want you to put the number at 5600. That's our starting line. That's our starting point. Okay? I then want you to take a picture. So you have your AIS settings down, and now it's time to go to your white balance. You're going to put the K on 5600. Boom. Take the picture, look at it. Then you ask yourself the Goldilocks question. Is this too blue? Is this too cool? Or is this too orange? Too warm? Whatever it is, if it's too warm, you see a lot of yellow tones and orangey tones, you're going to cool it down. So from 5600, you might need to bring it down to 5000 or 5200. Check again. Remember, we're testing our bath water. We're making sure it feels right and looks right, right? On the flip side, you put it on 5600 to start. You take the picture. You look at your camera. You look at your LCD screen. And you're like, man, this is too blue. This is looking green. This is like way too cool. We need to warm it up. So you're going to go up the scale. Okay. So instead of 5600, you might need to put it on 5800, 6200. You're going to warm it up. Okay. So what you're doing when you're trying to get correct white balance is you're just testing the water just like you're pouring bath water. Okay, start at one spot. Start at 5600 every time. It's just easy system. Start at 5600 and then go from there. And remember, our goal with this is to make sure our whites look white, our skin tones look like they're normal skin tones. The colors look right. Like, that is our goal. And that is how easy it is to use Kelvin. And for some reason, a lot of new photographers are terrible to do anything off of auto. But when you can simplify it down to a simple system that you can repeat over and over again, where you don't even have to think about it, that's what's going to help you become a better photographer, get your settings in a lot quicker, and so that you can focus on loving and serving your clients and providing that amazing experience that they keep coming back to you for. So, I know Kelvin can be crazy. I know it can be scary. I know it can be intimidating, but don't let it be. And if you're watching this live and you're like, oh, this is making sense, I strongly suggest you go to my YouTube channel and check out that Kelvin video. You can rewatch that one over and over and over again. And if you're really like, I'm ready to do the thing, hop in the 101 course. This is how I teach. Simplified, easy systems. That way, because y'all look, I am not techie at all. I'm a 31-year-old mama of 4. Like, I'm wearing a blouse with a cardigan right now. Like, I am not a techie millennial by any means. And so for that, I had to kindergarten-fy the camera. And that's how I teach it, in the most simplistic way possible. I am the analogy queen, and that's how I teach too. Like, if you can understand how to get corrective bath water for you and your kids, you can get Kelvin in right for your camera and your clients. So, I hope this was helpful for you guys. Just wanted to show it for you today and help you out. I know that skin tones and color is something that we all struggle with. Even, you know, seasoned photographers don't always nail it right every time. I see a lot of photographers that I look up to who've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, and they'll post a picture and I'm like, ooh. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect either. I'm just saying, doesn't matter if you are in day 1 or you in day 1001, it's a struggle. But it can be taught and it can be learned. So again, I hope this was helpful. I am here, so I'm gonna hop off. But if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll try to get to them sometime today. But I love you.